Okay, so this is week 2 of the masterwork in shading. You had your 12 by 18 format. So week 1 was you presented me a platform in that drawing that we will now in week 2 go in and show what we know about shading, hatching, cross hatching, and smudging. We know that we use shading to produce a 3-dimensional effect, right, on a 2-dimensional plane. So these are just tricks and illusions that artists have come up with in order to give the illusion of depth and space on a flat surface. Okay, so I'm going to give you an example now of how to shade the work that I did in week 1. Just using my pencil, and I'm going to, I'm going to imagine a light source going this way because I sort of have my candle flame going that way like wind is blowing. So I'm going to imagine light sort of shining off of this candle a little bit in here, and if I had a light source coming in this way. So I'm just going to start with this bowl. I'm going to start with hatch marks. And I want to see all 3 hatch marks, cross hatching marks, and smudging in your work. Now, as you can tell here, I can do these hatching marks and then start smudging here, right? And there you've already shown me 2 techniques, right? This whole thing is just going to be building up. Don't do a couple marks, all right, and then think, oh, I did it. Now, look at your whole work. The whole idea behind these tools is to use them to develop your work, not just present them blandly on the paper that you can make. I know you can make marks like this, but can you use these marks in a skillful way to create a work of art? That's the solid question. That's what's going on here. Move it across. Some depth in that bowl. Some hatch marks. Some smudging. Right? Try some. And I'm not coloring. My pencil is going off the paper. Right. There's that circular motion there. Even if it comes off, so what? Smudging. Side of my pencil a little bit. Smudge. Anytime you're going to use the side of your pencil, get in there and smudge. Now see, this is why right here, last time I went over this line, this is why I wasn't worried. I'm just going to cover it with these hatch marks. And really cover it. And if anything, it just looks like glass that you can see through. Remember, read your work. I'm going to do a thing on reading your work. I tell you guys in class all the time, I tell my students, read your work. What's it telling you to do? What's it telling you next? It's one of the reasons, too, we use the free draw process. Because students read their work with the pencil. That's how I began training them how to read their work. With the pencil drawing and the hand rule, you have to read your work. Have I drawn the entire and used the entire space that I was given? Well, the self-check is the hand rule. So that's them beginning to read their work With the coloring in step 2, did I color the entire thing? You know, that answers itself. And then finally, black outlining for the refining of the work is them sort of putting the final touches. And that all develops into being able to read your work, which I think goes outside of the bounds of even art making. I think that we all read our work. We all read what's going on so that we can make skillful and sound choices. And you thought it was just drawing pictures. Nope, at least not to me. There is a story in all of these. Come down here. Look at that shape of that bowl. All right, come up here with this candle. A little bend in there. Okay. Now, I debated whether or not to do this on the fast, this sped up thing, but I think that I wanted you to see how this builds. And I know it's a little slow, but there we go. Now, this is week 2. Okay, week 2. This is what you should be giving me. The platform was week 1. You should be giving me all the different examples of how you use hatching, cross hatching, and smudging to show light in your work here. Okay. Now, if you want to, you can add a little extra and use that eraser for something other than erasing. For draftsmen rather. These tools are used just for the opposite effect. You see? And I can lighten up this side to make it look like there's some light hitting it, maybe off the candle here. And then just sort of fade it in, play with it. It lightens it up, maybe off the top of this bowl. And there's some light in here. And it's subtle. Now, you're not erasing your marks. You're not doing that. You're lightening up some areas, and then you don't really want to see your eraser marks, so you just want to kind of fade them in. It's still lighter over here because there's less lead. Okay. And that's some extra if you wanted to do that. Maybe this is metal. And you can imply that it's metal by making it a little shinier. Right? And again, you just tell yourself a story as you go. Read your work and let it tell you what it needs to develop. And it will if you listen. It will tell you what it needs. So there you go. Sometimes my camera cuts it off. There's hatch marks. They're in the bowl. Cross hatching and smudging throughout. Okay, so week 2, you are just going to be shading using hatching, cross hatching, and smudging your work to show a light source. Your work should look like a complete drawing when you submit it. It shouldn't look like you have, you have your flat place and then you made a couple marks on this side and that's it. No, you should be trying to figure out how to develop your work. Read it back and forth, develop it until it looks complete, finished, okay? All right, week 2, shading. Good luck, I can't wait to see what you come up with.